Yungeen Ace just broke down in court after new footage directly linked him to the crime scene. Honestly, no one in the streets is surprised. People have been saying he was involved since day one.
I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro. Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had to put that 10K up.
In this video I am breaking down what the footage actually shows and what it could mean for Yungeen Ace and Foolio's murder case. The people accused of killing Foolio aren't just showing zero remorse, they are mocking his death. Not long ago, one of the suspects, Isaiah Chance, was caught on camera in court casually nodding his head to "Who I Smoke," the viral Yungeen Ace diss track that disrespects Foolio and his whole crew. That moment was already disturbing, but what just happened in court recently, it took things to a whole new darker level. Before we talk about that twisted behavior and the heartless message behind it, let's rewind to the night everything went wrong. It was June 23, 2024. Foolio, real name Charles Jones, was supposed to be celebrating his 26th birthday. He had chosen to party in Tampa, Florida, far from the violence of Jacksonville, the city where so many of his friends and family had lost their lives. Foolio had done what most young men in his neighborhood only dream of. He made it in the music industry, millions of streams, fans around the world, and enough money to live beyond the street life. But sometimes the past doesn't stay in the past. In the early hours of June 24th, everything changed. Foolio had been posting on social media all night, sharing birthday moments with his fans, but those posts revealed his exact location. What seemed like an innocent way to celebrate turned into a fatal mistake. His enemies used those posts as real-time intel, and they made their move.
Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location.
The killers came prepared. 5 people were eventually arrested for Foolio's murder: Isaiah Chance, Elisa Andrews, Sean Geithright, Devon Murphy, and Richard Murphy. But this wasn't some random spur-of-the-moment shooting. Investigators uncovered a level of planning that shocked even veteran homicide detectives. These suspects didn't just stumble across Foolio, they planned every step. They used their mother's car, booked an Airbnb just 1 mile from the hotel where Foolio was staying, and even used their personal phones during the operation. Prosecutors later described the case as a layup because the evidence was so overwhelming. The planning and coordination between all 5 suspects was chilling. It was obvious they had only one goal when they came to Tampa: to kill Foolio. What's even more disturbing is how sloppy they were with hiding their tracks. Either they were so caught up in wanting revenge, or they were so confident they wouldn't get caught that they didn't even try to cover their trail. That night they moved like predators, slow, calm, and focused. They weren't just hoping to catch Foolio slipping, they were tracking him, following him from spot to spot, studying his movements, watching his security, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And that moment came around 4:15 in the morning. Foolio left for a hotel on McKinley Drive. One of the suspects' cars was seen tailing him, but instead of following him directly into the parking lot, they stopped across the street. Their setup showed a shocking level of planning, almost like military tactics. They didn't run in recklessly, they chose positions that gave them the upper hand while keeping themselves hidden. What happened next was all caught on surveillance cameras, footage so clear, so damning, it basically turned the courtroom into a movie theater. Everyone watched the final moments of Foolio's life play out on screen.
3 shooters exit a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident.
The video evidence is so damning that law enforcement officials couldn't hide their disgust when presenting it to the media.
He's the right front passenger in that vehicle. It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do. The investigation would later reveal that the 3 armed shooters were Sean Geithright, Richard Murphy, and Davion Murphy.
But what makes this case even more disturbing isn't just the cold, calculated way Foolio was killed. It's what happened right after. While Foolio lay dying in a Tampa hotel parking lot, while his friends were fighting for their lives, and while his mother got the kind of phone call no parent ever wants, One of his killers was already celebrating. According to prosecutors, a text message was sent from Sean Geethride's phone believed to have been written by Rashad Murphy, one of the shooters. It read, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched, pop a bottle of Don Julio today." The message became key evidence in the case. The phrase "my thirst is quenched" was interpreted as a sick way of saying the mission was complete. A likely revenge. Worse, Don Julio wasn't just a reference to a bottle of liquor. Prosecutors believe it was a cruel play on Foolio's stage name Julio Foolio, a final insult sent right after his death. As the investigation unfolded, detectives revealed that this wasn't just some one-off act of violence. This was part of a deeper gang war. Police believe members of 80K and 1200 teamed up to kill Foolio, part of an ongoing feud that started in Jacksonville and spilled into Tampa. This wasn't random, it was a coordinated hit. All 5 suspects now face first-degree murder charges. The state is seeking the death penalty for the 4 men involved. Alicia Andrews, who was pregnant when arrested, isn't facing capital punishment. That decision to go for the death penalty shows how serious prosecutors are about the cruelty and planning behind this murder. What's crazy is that even though the killers carried out a tactical, almost military-style attack, they left behind so much evidence that it made the job easy for police. They used their real phones, they traveled in cars that were caught on license plate readers, and they even bragged about the killing. Police tracked everything: surveillance footage, phone logs, and text message send. Slowly built a case. One of the biggest giveaways came from Alicia Andrews, who told police she let the guys use her phone but didn't know they planned to kill Foolio. That excuse didn't hold up. It's hard to believe someone could be part of such a well-organized plot, helping track Foolio across multiple locations and not know what was going on. The murder of Foolio wasn't just a tragedy for his family and fans, it was a wake-up call for law enforcement who used the case to send a message: if you think you can plan and carry out something like this and get away with it, think again.
Clear message to anyone that the city of Tampa is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent possible.
But this wasn't just some random act of violence. It was the latest chapter in a long, bloody story that had been building for years behind the scenes. After Julio Foolio was murdered, the wheels of justice began to turn slowly but surely, and what would come out in the courtroom shocked even those who thought they'd seen it all. When it comes to gang violence, the suspects who carefully planned and carried out this killing would soon be facing the harshest punishment allowed by Florida law. But even more disturbing than the murder itself was how they behaved in court: arrogant, emotionless, and proud of what they did. The first court hearings were mostly routine procedural stuff, but they made one thing very clear: this case would be long, messy, and serious. Each suspect had their own lawyer and their own strategy to try to escape the death penalty the state was going after. During the arraignments, prosecutors laid out their plan. They weren't just going after the shooters, they were going after everyone involved in the planning. Under Florida law, you don't have to pull the trigger to be charged with murder. If you help plan it, you were just as guilty, and the state made it clear this wasn't just about who fired the shots. We're taking down the whole conspiracy. The evidence started to reveal something even more chilling. These suspects weren't just unremorseful, they were bragging. Instead of feeling guilt, they acted like they had just won something. One text message became a major focus in court. It was sent from Sean Geethride's phone, but prosecutors say it came from Rashad Murphy, one of the shooters. The text said, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched, pop a bottle of Don Julio today." That message was sent just hours after Foolio was killed. To prosecutors, it showed how cold and proud these killers were. There was no guilt, no second thoughts, just celebration. The public reaction was instant. A post by CRIES DGTL on August 7, 2024 shared a screenshot of the message with the caption, "One of Foolio's murder suspects, Rashad Murphy aka Ghost, sent this just hours after the killing." It went viral, over 1.6 million views as people reacted with shock and disgust. As the case moved forward, the suspects didn't act like men who were scared of a death sentence. Instead, they showed a pattern of disrespect and arrogance, smirking in court, ignoring the judge, and mocking the system. Rashad Murphy has been especially active in court. On January 14, 2025, he wrote an emotional letter to the judge. In it, he talked about being with his fiancée since they were 13 and how he's a father to their 4 kids. It was clearly meant to paint him as a family man, a loving partner, and a devoted dad, but many saw the letter as a strategic strategic move away to gain sympathy, because at the end of the day this is the same man accused of helping murder someone else's son, brother and cousin, the same man who just hours after the killing allegedly sent a message bragging about it. And Murphy wasn't done making headlines in the courtroom. On January 29 he shocked everyone by firing his lawyer, asking to represent himself and demanding a speedy trial which could force the trial to begin within just 5 days. The decision alarmed the judge warned him about the risks of self-representation, especially in a death penalty case. A mental health hearing was scheduled for February 4 to decide if Murphy was even fit to defend himself. The big question: was this a bold legal move or just more reckless behavior from someone who didn't care about consequences in the first place? Meanwhile, the prosecution's case kept getting stronger. They had overwhelming evidence, but they also had the challenge of handling 5 different defendants, each with different roles in the murder. Bond hearings became a major focus. All 5 suspects were denied bond due to how serious the charges were and the threat they posed to the public. One of the most intense hearings involved Devon Murphy, another alleged shooter. On January 16, a 5-hour bond hearing was held. During that session, the state announced it would seek the death penalty. They also presented key evidence: gong-related music lyrics and signs to show the murder was carefully planned. That hearing wasn't just about bail, it was a preview of what prosecutors were going to bring at trial in court. Family history and personal motive also came to light. Testimony revealed that Rashad Murphy's cousin Joe Rod Adams was shot and killed at a high school football game back in August 2018. That incident was later mentioned in Foolio's song Something. Murphy was said to deeply resent that detail gave the case an even more personal angle. These weren't just random people out for street clout or money, they had personal vendettas, family losses, and they saw killing Foolio as a twisted kind of payback. While the suspects claimed Foolio's murder was about justice, the evidence suggested it was a cold-blooded, premeditated killing. The other defendants have also made court appearances, each handling the case in different ways. Sean Gathright, Isaiah Chance and Alicia Andrews all showed up in Hillsborough County Court on August 28, 2024, where they pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder charges. This wasn't a surprise, it's what most defense lawyers advise, but those pleas set the stage for high-stakes trials where prosecutors would have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, while the defendants fought to avoid life in prison or the death penalty. Alicia Andrews, however, added a new layer of complexity to the case. She was pregnant at the time of her arrest, a fact revealed in court in September 2024. Because of that, she isn't eligible for the death penalty even though she faces the same murder charges as the others. That legal difference means her case could play out very differently. She may be more likely to take a plea deal or cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a lighter sentence. As the case moved forward, prosecutors made one thing clear: they didn't see this as just another gang murder, they saw it as a public act of terror with far-reaching consequences. State Attorney Susie Lopez made that clear during a press conference after the arrest. She emphasized the human cost behind the headlines: families torn apart, a community in fear, and a young man murdered just days after his birthday. The deeper the investigation went, the more disturbing details came out. A now viral post by @VA_fly on August 7, 2024 revealed that the suspects used their mother's car rented in Airbnb just 1 mile from the murder scene and used their personal cell phones throughout the entire operation. The post described the case as a layup for prosecutors, meaning the trail of evidence was so obvious it would be easy to win in court. Prosecutors say the evidence speaks for itself. The suspects used their own families' cars and stayed in vacation rentals like they were on a weekend getaway, not plotting a murder. It shows how desensitized some have become, where taking a life doesn't feel any more serious than planning a concert night out. The confidence from prosecutors is clear, from their public statements to their bold move of pursuing the death penalty for several of the suspects. Whether or not they win the case is still unknown, but as of now things are surprisingly in favor of the prosecution. The birth of a street war. Since Foolio's murder made headlines, one name keeps coming up: Yungeen Ace. The feud between these two rappers has been at the heart of Jacksonville's drill scene for years, fueling violence and real-life loss. So when Foolio was murdered on his 26th birthday, many naturally started pointing fingers at Ace's recent actions. Cryptic lyrics and a few suspicious statements have only added more questions. Was this a hit that Ace ordered, or was it just the latest chapter in their deadly rivalry that finally reached the point of no return? Adding even more fuel to the fire, a viral video started making the rounds as it shows a masked man face hidden under an orange beanie claiming responsibility for Foolio's murder. In the clip, the man says he was the one who smacked Foolio on his birthday night, implying he carried out the hit. Even more shocking, the masked man claims he was paid $10,000 by Yungeen Ace to do it.
Everything I love, bro. On the dead homies, bro. I put it on everything on my soul, on my kids. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro.
Whether the confession was real or just made for attention, it sparked even more suspicion around Yungeen Ace. The masked man in the video didn't sound sorry at all. Instead, he treated the killing like a business deal, saying, "It is what it is, bro. They don't care about that money. Anybody can get it." Foolio had it coming. His words and his clear loyalty to ATK Ace's crew made it sound like the killing was just part of a bigger war between ATK and KTA. Foolio's side. Despite the video going viral, police have not confirmed if it's real, and they haven't made any arrests. That silence from law enforcement has frustrated the public. Some people believe Ace's fame and money might be protecting him from serious investigation. And then, just hours after Foolio's death, Ace released a new diss track called "Do It." To many fans, the song felt like a direct taunt, a message celebrating Foolio's death without naming him outright. The lyrics were full of threats and warnings. 7 days a week we run this week, spinning any day this week. I better come up missing, better stay on point, he better not be out here slipping. Lines like that made it sound like the streets were in constant war and that one mistake could get someone killed. Even more disturbing, in the music video, Ace was seen holding a bottle of Don Julio tequila. Fans immediately took that as a reference to Foolio's name, calling it mockery. On YouTube and social media, people reacted fast. One user wrote, "The Don Julio bottle in the video is diabolical." Another said, claiming bodies has to be the dumbest flex in history. With that imagery and no public comment, people started to believe Ace was claiming credit without saying it directly. Eventually, with pressure mounting, Yungeen Ace spoke out. He went live on Instagram saying he had nothing to do with Foolio's murder. Ace admitted they had been enemies for years but claimed they had recently made peace. He told his fans, "That's sad, I ain't gonna lie bro, leave the streets alone. Playa, I don't condone stuff like that." Still, many people weren't convinced, and the debate over Ace's role in Foolio's murder is far from over.
Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad, twin. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. I'll condone this like that.
According to Yungeen Ace, he and Foolio were actually on friendly terms before Foolio's murder. Ace even claimed that he had warned Foolio to stay away from the street life that had fueled much of their feud. In a live stream, Ace said, "It's so funny cause we were cool. I was just talking to him and I was like, bro, you gotta stay out the way, you know we love you out here. I mess with you for real." This sudden claim of reconciliation raised serious questions about Ace's credibility, especially considering the stark contrast between his words and the tone of his recent diss track "Do It." Many fans were skeptical. They pointed out the inconsistency. How could Ace say they were cool but then drop a diss track full of threats and veiled references to Foolio's death? To critics, Ace's denial on Instagram seemed more like a strategic move, a way to distance himself from the murder while still benefiting from the publicity surrounding their rivalry. To really understand why suspicions around Ace have grown, you have to look at the history between him and Foolio. Their feud wasn't just about rap, it was about real violence. They were the faces of rival gangs in Jacksonville's drill scene. ATK, Ace's crew, short for Ace's top killers; KTA, Foolio's side, short for Kill Them All. Both sides used music as a weapon, dissing each other's fallen friends in tracks and constantly raising the stakes. The beef hit a boiling point with Ace's 2018 viral track "Who I Smoke," where he named several of Foolio's dead affiliates in a mocking upbeat song. In response, Foolio dropped "When I See You," a haunting track that turned the pain of loss into a threat for revenge. That track sampled real audio from news coverage of the death of Ace's brother, adding a chilling layer of authenticity and pain. Both "Who I Smoke" and "When I See You" went viral, racking up millions of views, with fans picking sides and further fueling the feud. But this wasn't just internet beef. Back and forth quickly escalated into real-world violence. Multiple shootings, threats and deadly encounters that kept tensions between ATK and KTA at an all-time high. For many fans, Foolio's death felt like a tragic yet inevitable outcome of a feud that had already taken too many lives. But if Yungeen Ace was actually involved, it would shift everything, suggesting this wasn't just music anymore, it was a coordinated hit with real lives on the line. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has been monitoring both ATK and KTA for years, frequently linking the two groups to the wave of violence sweeping the city after Foolio's murder. Sheriff T.K. Waters held a press conference directly addressing the rising concerns of retaliation and gang violence. He didn't mince words. "Young people think this is a game, they make it like it's a video game. It's not, this is real life." Waters emphasized that Foolio wasn't just a name in headlines, was someone's son, someone's brother, someone's friend, and his murder was not entertainment. When asked about the glorification of violence on social media, Waters expressed frustration, calling out the dangerous cycle it creates. He explained how disrespectful posts, diss tracks, and viral moments can lead to real bloodshed, saying that law enforcement would be keeping a close eye on both gangs moving forward. "If you're thinking about revenge, think again," Waters warned. This was more than a message, it was a line in the sand.
So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them.
Sheriff Waters' comments made it clear law enforcement is fully aware of the gang ties between Foolio and Yungeen Ace, and they are not taking Foolio's murder lightly. Yet despite intense public pressure, there's still no concrete evidence linking Ace directly to the killing, as fans and critics continue dissecting Ace's lyrics, social media posts, and public statements. The question remains: did he have a hand in Foolio's death, or is this all just speculation fueled by years of beef and coincidence? To some, Ace's calculated silence, provocative lyrics, and well-timed denials paint the picture of a villain exploiting violence for clout. To others, he's simply a talented artist navigating a violent culture that takes lives regardless of who's guilty or innocent, regardless of the truth. One thing is certain: the shadow of Foolio's murder will follow Yungeen Ace possibly for the rest of his career, and the public, they'll keep asking the same question: did he get away with murder, or is he just another survivor in a game that was rigged from the start? For more deep dives into hip-hop's most controversial moments, click the video on your screen now and don't forget to subscribe.